So after taking a week off last week, the UFC is going to be coming back this week on April 13th for a big double interim title fight pay-per-view in Atlanta. The two title fights are going to be at middleweight and lightweight. Middleweight will be Israel Adesanya and Kelvin Gastelum. At lightweight, it'll be Dustin Poirier and the featherweight champion Max Holloway. I'll get down to that. What I'll just do is I'll just kind of like run through the card, at least with the betting lines, just kind of make any comments there. And then once I get down to the two title fights, then I'll get a little bit more in depth on those specific fights and how I think those guys match up and who I think is going to win and why. So we got Brandon Davis and Randy Costa. Davis is decent with jiu-jitsu, kind of known for that loss to Zabit Magomed Sharipov, where he got Zulaev stretched, but he's decent on the ground, but more known for his stand-up. Don't know a whole lot about Costa, but Davis is the minus 159 favorite there. Botelho and Mueller, don't know a ton about them from a technical standpoint. Montel Jackson and Andre Sukumtat, there's a really big difference here in the betting line with Jackson being a 5-1 favorite. Jackson is incredibly long for the division, really good wrestler, whereas Sukumtat is more of a striker, although there's kind of an infamous fight with him and Sean O'Malley where O'Malley was getting the better of him on the feet, ended up just busting his leg, and then Sukumtat decided that'd be a good time to take him down instead of just keeping him on the feet and leg kicking him, and ended up losing a decision, which was just bizarre. Sukumtat's a pretty good fighter, pretty solid all around, but not like overly down in any one area. I could definitely see this fight going as I think the odds makers see it going, where Jackson just kind of takes him down and beats him up for 3 rounds. So not too surprised by the betting line there. Bilal Muhammad and Curtis Millender. This fight, Muhammad's probably just going to be trying to take him down and out-grapple him. And from what we've seen in previous Millender fights, there's reason to believe he can do that. The betting line putting him at the favorite kind of sees it the same way. I think on the feet, if Millender's able to keep this fight in space, he should definitely be the favorite, but I just don't see him doing that after some of the fights that we've seen, especially the one with CR Bahadurzada. So Muhammad probably should be the favorite there at minus 135. I agree with that. Boston Salmon and Khaled Taha. I don't know a whole lot about either of them, although Boston Salmon, I think he came through the Contender Series and definitely has one of the more bizarre names of UFC fighters out there. Max Griffin and Zalim Ahmadayev. I know about Griffin, don't know anything about his opponent, though, so one of my rules in betting is don't just bet a guy just because you're familiar with him. You kind of have to know both guys and know how they match up, because you can understand the technique of it. You can know a lot about one specific fighter, but you have to know about both of them if you really want to be able to get into predictions and actually put money down. Alexander Pantoja and Wilson Hayes. This is a bit of an interesting line. Both of these guys are jiu-jitsu guys. Both flyweights like to take the fight down and control on the ground. Both very high-level black belts. I actually kind of think Wilson Hayes should probably be the favorite here. I think his takedowns are probably a little better than Pantoja. I could see him taking him down and controlling from the top. So I'll put some action in on Wilson Hayes there. Seems odd that Pantoja's the minus 152 favorite there. We got Jalen Turner, Matt Frevola. Don't know a ton about both of these guys. I think Turner came from the Contender Series as well. Frevola, I've heard the name around. I probably have seen his fight, but just don't remember it. Then we have OSP and Nikita Krylov. For some reason, I feel like these guys might have fought before in the past. Either way, this is a pretty interesting fight. Krylov's coming back after he has had a few fights back since the UFC brought him back, but he was up in the top 15, got released, fought overseas, and then came back. So we're still trying to see where he's at right now. I don't know if he's still ranked anymore. I know at a point he was right around like the 15 range back when Johnny Walker was making his climb up, but I don't know if Walker and some of the other guys pushed him out or not. But a win over OSP would definitely cement his spot in the top 15. But at plus 100, this is kind of like a pick 'em at this point. Not sure where I'd go with that. OSP is a bit inconsistent. Sometimes he shows up and looks fantastic against some of the top ranked guys at light heavyweight, and other times he just doesn't really show me much. So I'll abstain from that one. We got Dwight Grant and Alan Jouban. Don't know a ton about Dwight Grant. Alan Jouban has been around for a while. Good kickboxer, sort of getting up there in age. His chin is sort of starting to go on him a little bit too, but he's fairly technical, and if you don't have just overwhelming knockout power, Jouban's generally going to find a way to get the better of you. We have Eric Anders and Khalil Roundtree. Anders started his career at 185. Looks like he just plans on staying up at 205 at this point. I don't know if it's just a weight cut or what his main motivation for that is. Roundtree, very dangerous. He had that big win over Gokhan Saki, but then had the quick loss to Johnny Walker. And I think some people are a little bit more down on Roundtree than they should be. I think he's definitely a live underdog here at plus 167. Do I want to bet on it? I mean, yeah, 167 I think is good enough odds there for Khalil Roundtree. Anders definitely has a good shot at winning this. There's a reason why he's the favorite, but I feel like this fight's more of a pick'em than it should be, or than it is actually put out right here. And that leads us to the first title fight. So they're going middleweight title fight co-main event and then lightweight title main event. I think the reasoning for that is because in the lightweight title fight they have an actual champion with Max Holloway, who's the 145 champion. But as far as how these guys match up, I think by and large, Adesanya should have the edge pretty much everywhere this fight is likely to go. Although there is a chance that Kelvin can get him down, I don't know that I see Kelvin being able to. Kelvin's offense is largely based off of countering and then going 3-2. So right hand hook and then rear cross. Sometimes he'll just kind of slip and go 2. With the fight against Michael Bisping, he was trying to use his pull counters. He kind of like used the same setup like 3 times in a row in under like 30 seconds. And the third time he was able to actually like find it and get the knockout of Bisping. But one of the problems he's going to have with a guy like Adesanya is not only is his length going to be an issue, but Adesanya is extremely good at feigning. So if you're looking at a guy like Kelvin Gastelum who likes to throw his 3-2 off of a counter, if he doesn't know when to counter, it's going to really make it hard for him to time it. And every time that he's trying to like get a read on Adesanya's getting a read on him, and is likely going to be lighting him up to the body, lighting him up to the head. So while Kelvin Gastelum, because he has so much power in his left hand, is more than capable of getting a win here, he definitely has that puncher's chance. I think for as long as it stays on the feet, Adesanya is going to have a major advantage here. I think some people see it being a little bit closer than that on the feet. They really look at Gastelum's boxing and think he's really getting up there, and he's improved a lot. He is very good, but I just think for this specific matchup, the feints of Adesanya are going to be a really big issue for him. So unless he's able to close the distance pretty effectively and at least get some decent takedowns attempts, if he doesn't even get him down, if this fight ends up being a striking exchange from distance, it's going to be a big problem for Kelvin Gastelum, and for that reason, I'm picking Israel Adesanya. In the main event, we have a rematch between Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. The first fight, I believe, was like 7 years ago, where Poirier ended up taking him down, going for an armbar. Then off of that, I think the order was he took him down past guard, went for an armbar from mount, and then as Holloway was defending the armbar, he got caught in a triangle with Poirier on bottom, and then Poirier took that triangle from bottom, ended up mounting him with the triangle in, and then isolated an arm, popped his hips out, and got an armbar triangle win. But it was the armbar that got the tap. As far as how these guys match up now, I think Max Holloway should have the edge this time around, and the odds definitely kind of show that. I think Poirier's going to have trouble getting him down. I think Holloway is going to do a good job of fighting at space and then over time making his reads and just outstriking Poirier on the feet. But one of the things that kind of weirds me out here is that a lot of MMA analysts and a lot of MMA journalists and even fans are talking about how Max Holloway has this elite takedown defense, as though he's like even going to be a guy who's going to be could be even Magomedov when they fight. Holloway, in his last loss, he got taken down fairly at will by Conor McGregor, including Conor McGregor in the third round, who had a torn ACL. In his fight since then, he has fought some good wrestlers. He's fought Ricardo Lamas. But it's not like he's really had to show just elite takedown defense against elite wrestlers. And he even did get like popped down really quickly by Brian Ortega. Granted, he got up right away. But this idea that Max Holloway has this impenetrable takedown defense, I don't know that I buy it. And I think Dustin Poirier is a little bit underrated on his takedown offense. But granted, even if it does happen where Dustin Poirier ends up getting this fight to the mat and takes down Max Holloway, Poirier is a pretty good black belt right now. Holloway, I believe, is a purple belt. Poirier would have the advantage there, but I don't know that he would just like tear right through him like he did in the first fight. So to me, I think for the most part, this fight's mostly going to be on the feet. I think that gives Holloway the edge, especially with this being a 5-round fight where it gives him time to kind of make some adjustments. Poirier might actually come out early and end up winning the first round or two. But I think over time, Holloway's really, really good about making his reads. And then once he starts getting his reads, just starting to massively outstrike his opponents and just continually improving round over round. And I kind of see this being the case here where I don't know that there's going to be a finish, but I think Holloway's probably going to win this one 3 rounds to 2 or 4 rounds to 1. Possibly 5-0, but I think 3-2 or 4-1 is going to be likely what happens here. So Max Holloway will be a featherweight champion and then an interim lightweight champion. And then from there, they'll have to decide what they want to do between now and potentially September or November, whenever Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to come back.